Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. I am so excited for this beautiful conversation. It's like girl talk. We were just talking. This is like a coffee chat in a beautiful location in the sunshine on our shoulders. I'm so excited to have you here with us and your expertise, Ms. Sierra, in human design, wealth, breaking chains, creating possibilities, all the things. Well, let's just have this conversation for everybody here right now in real time and in the future. So this is going to be perfect anytime to rewatch and to get realigned, right? Oh my gosh. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. I just adore you and your energy and what you've created. And I'm so excited to be here today for this conversation. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's just bring it up. We just talked about my human design for a minute. So friends, if you don't know what time you were born like me, it's on your birth certificate.
It is. Yeah.
And so for so long, I've asked my mom, and the time has been, I am 45. So it's been a minute, right? And so this is just so I love strengths. As I've done self-development work and my coaching and poured into clients and how people work and their communication skills and just the way life journey has occurred, I have really dove into how we are made up, what has happened before us, what has happened in our generational cycle, and what our strengths are, communication styles. And now this human design is just so intriguing to me. And you and I have had a conversation or two, and I have heard about it probably within the last couple of years, just more often. And so if ladies and friends, if you guys don't know what human design is, it's absolutely okay, because this conversation is going to be whoa, it's going to actually blow your mind of the diving into how you are made up and how you work. Right? Instead of fighting against. One thing I know you and I have talked about in the past, because if you've never seen this beautiful woman's face, she's been in one of my summits. So if you missed that, go dive in for the replays, because that conversation was also beautiful. But I feel like when we grow up, we're always told to work on more of what we are not good at. Right. And I feel like things just come with ease and more flow when you work at what you are good at, and create from there. But anyway, let's just have this conversation without further ado and without me talking anymore.
Well, thank you. You hit on so much just now, because even the piece of we are taught, especially in the business landscape, to really focus on, strengthening our weaknesses and how can we dive more into our weaknesses? And it's how about we focus on our strengths? Or in human design, what are known as our gates, which I like to call our superpowers. And so for those of you who don't know what human design is, it's imagine if Enneagram and Strengths Finder had a baby. It would be human design. So human design is like Myers-Briggs, but on a spiritual level. It combines many different modalities, astrology and Kabbalah and all of these different things. But the main point of human design is that we all have an energetic blueprint. Okay. So for those of you, if you even think about when your hair stands up, when you get excited, or you know what I mean? Or if you walk by something and you shock it, that is our aura, that is our energy field. And we all have a unique one that allows us to move in life from a place of flow and ease. What happens is, though, we have conditioning from society, our parents, our lineage, right? Our peers, that puts those blocks and hurdles in that path of energy and how we are really here to fulfill our life purpose. So human design tells you a roadmap that is unique to you. So no two people in the world have the same human design, even twins, right? Even
That's
twins.
So crazy. Isn't that
right?
Cool?
It is. And what's mind-blowing for me is there's this roadmap for us to fulfill our purpose, and not only to fulfill it, but also to know it. So your human design tells you beyond a shadow of a doubt what your life purpose and life work is. So you don't have to guess. Are you in it? You can know. And then it says, okay, so these are your strengths. These are some areas where you may have been prone to more conditioning in the past. And this is how you can maintain flow and alignment and balance in your life if you just really tune into those key areas. And it's like, and it can be complex. So for those of you who are like, yeah, I pulled my chart, it looks like calculus. I agree, it
It
does.
does. It
Yeah.
does look like I'm not a mathy.
Yeah.
I'm like, hmm.
It's a lot of layers to it, but and I'll also be honest, like I was so like anti human design for a long time because I'm just like, it is so complex. The language was archaic to me. It seemed like it was you had to be at a certain level of ascension to really like understand your human design. And I was like, no, I don't want any parts of it. But it kept coming across my lap essentially. And I'm like, okay, let me dive in. And once I did, I was like, oh, this is so important. This is the missing piece that I've been needing to really get to a place of trusting myself, right? And knowing how to move in alignment when you're out of alignment in life, with your kids, in business, in your relationships, like all of the levels. And also how to make decisions based on your intuition and your soul, which is always leading us to the path of least resistance. So it
Mhm.
allows us to bypass even limiting beliefs and the mindset and the subconscious. It goes deeper than that to the soul level to say, no, this is actually a path that will allow you to really feel lit up by what you're doing, how you're living, how you're being, if you just kind of pay attention and trust yourself in this way. And it's amazing.
And what I hear you saying is like what just landed for me when I got there is a lot of times our limiting beliefs, especially in this group, right? Everybody has limiting beliefs. I call them gremlins, right? They're like, oh, girlfriend, you're not worthy of this. Like, you're not going to sell this program for this much, or you can't ask your boss for a raise, or this is just too much. Like, it's not a big deal. We need to minimize this, right? It's just the little nerds in the back of your head, just lowering and keeping you safe, right? But what I hear you saying is it gives us like black and white
Yeah.
context
Yeah.
that this is real and this is what I should be doing, and not just like like I don't know, like a heart like feeling or a gut feeling, like intuition or whatever that you feel like it's guiding you, but you're like, but is it real?
Right. Right. Yeah, because I find for me, coming out of 2 long-term narcissistic abusive relationships, I forgot how to kind of feel in my body. I had numbed myself for so long. So when somebody would say feel into it, I'm like, what does that mean? Am I like, I think I'm feeling, right? So there were these parts of the process for me to even understanding what is my ego and what is my intuition, right? I
Mm-hmm.
also was an entrepreneur that, over, I'd say at that point, maybe 15 years or so as an entrepreneur. Yes, I had hit that 7-figure mark, but I was completely out of my passion and purpose. It was like, you need a coffee shop on this corner? Oh, I'll put it there. And I don't even drink coffee, right? So it was like I was chasing that lifestyle and the money and the amount of zeros in my bank account. And so it's like human design allowed me to really understand, like, okay, these are my motivations. This is how I can make aligned decisions. This is how I can get off the hamster wheel of success that tells me to continue to do, or, this person over here, like I had a period where most of us have been like that shiny object syndrome, right? So it's like the 30 and 30 days and all of this stuff. So it's like, okay, instead of me continuing to do what may work for this other person, let me feel into what can work for me, even from an aligned marketing standpoint. So within human design, there are 5 energy aura types. And so you and I are similar in that you're a manifesting generator, energy type, and I'm a generator. So what that means is that when we are lit up by our passions, we almost have like unlimited energy, right? But when we are not in our passion, that's how we burn out. And when we are in alignment, we will feel a sense of satisfaction, and you also will feel a sense of peace. And when we're
Mhm.
out of alignment, we will feel frustration, and you will also feel a sense of anger. And so each type has this, right? So it's like you can immediately say, okay, why am I feeling like a little frustrated right now? Like, what am I doing in my business? Who was I just talking to? Who am I talking to? Right? So you can see what's out of alignment for you without having to guess. And there's a study that was done where it was calculating the amount of time that it takes for our mind to kick in to a decision versus us following our like inner knowing, right? And it's 3 seconds. So when you are trying to make a decision, you literally have 3 seconds before any story, whether it's a good, money story or life story or a limiting belief kicks in. So it's like
Wow.
you can tap into, okay, this is what my intuition is guiding me to, even if it doesn't make sense, even if you don't agree with it before the mind kicks in and says, oh, really? Do we really want to start a podcast? Like, do we really want to do these things? And it's like, yes, yep, I do. Right. Like these are the things that I feel aligned with in this moment. So,
Oh my gosh, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. So what comes into mind is like everybody is going to be at a different level, right? And so, and you and I have both rebuilt from a completely different place. And we just talked about that, like rebuilding the structure. The foundation gets to be our own, and it gets to be in alignment this time. And I love that. I absolutely love that. Um, but how do you go from, like, we're talking about breaking cycles here, right? Breaking cycles of shame, getting out of narcissistic abuse, getting out of an abusive relationship. Maybe it's just not, maybe it's work related. Maybe it's gaslighting at work. Maybe it's relationship with partner. Maybe it's relationship with family, right? That lineage, that generational cycle. And so how do you go from, maybe we're still in it.
yeah.
So how do we go in and gain that confidence? How do you lean in to shifting into a different money story? Because you guys, money is worthiness. I mean, that's how I feel. Like, if you don't feel worthy, if you feel shame, worry, scared, fear, like your money story is always going to be that victim mentality, right? So do you think getting your human design and learning about it, do you think what starts that process? Because I'm sure people are thinking that here right now. The women here are being like, okay, like,
Mhm.
all right, I get it. You guys are rebuilding. You guys are here. You're sitting here now, but like I am over here with $5 in my bank account. I have no idea how I'm going to pay my rent this month, right? I don't have a working car because it needs an alternator. And maybe that's not the story here, but let's have an open conversation of that. What does that look like? Do you think?
Yeah. Ooh, I'm like, I remember that feeling, like being homeless with my 2 kids and sleeping on an air mattress in one of my best friends, houses where thankfully the boys thought it was a big sleepover because they were young enough. But it's like, I remember that feeling and people saying like, so first of all, when we are rebuilding, regardless of what that could be, it could, like you said, it could be a career change, like any pivot in your life, a divorce. But if we have the opportunity to rebuild, let's rebuild massively. Let's rebuild something beyond our wildest dreams, right? But in that moment, when you are negative in your bank account and all the other things, looking in the mirror and saying, I am wealthy, I am worthy, is not to me going to work. It didn't work for me. And it doesn't
Mhm.
work for most of my clients, right? And we were just talking about shifting that slightly so that we can start to tell our subconscious that is trying to keep us safe and lead us that I'm in the process of. Like, yeah, my account may be negative right now, but I am in the process of rebuilding. And even if that's all you can say in that moment, that in itself can give you a little bit more conviction, right? I am in the process of, changing my money story. I'm in the process of coming into money overflow. I'm in the process of building a six or, whatever figure business, whatever that looks like for you, right? I'm in the process of being surrounded by healthy relationships. Like I know for me, when I was, I made the choice to walk away from everything, but I was at zero. The one thing that I had to lean into in that time was prayer. I was not an avid like church goer, but I had to pull on some faith because I was just like, okay, look, God, like I know this isn't it for me.
Mhm.
Like I know I am literally feeling like I cannot make another step and I'm in a seven-figure home. Like what as a mother, I feel like a failure. Like there are so many things going on right now. And I know that there's some other promises for me. So I literally took out a Bible because I had one in my home, never really read it, but I'm like, okay, let me look. And I looked for every scripture that like had a promise. And the one that stood out to me was Ephesians 3:20. It was like, you promise, or God, promises to bless you exceedingly abundantly above anything you could ever dream or imagine. And I was like, oh, see, so show me this. It was like I
Mhm.
put God to the fire. I'm like, I can't do, like, I have done all I think I can do or know to do in this moment. Okay, let me find another one. Okay, you promised this. Show me. And I wrote them down and I just recited them to me. And one of them was like, cast your burdens and worries on me. And I was like, that's what I have to do in this moment. I don't know another thing to do. So I
Mhm.
am giving this to you. And so I did that. I read that day. I remember, and like each day for like a year. I even got it laminated. It's like a handwritten little thing. And I was like, show me every day, show me. It wasn't like a passive, like, okay, God, I am here. It was like, no, I need you to show up like I never before. And I
Mhm.
just kept feeling into that. So it was like any little thing. I don't care if like, again, my girlfriend, she opened up her home with like open arms and we had the time of our lives. It was nothing that I wanted to do, but it was what I needed to do most. And it's like, even in that, yeah, my account may be negative, but I'm here in this home and I can be grateful for that. So it's like just starting to be grateful for those, opportunities. Like even mentioned like somebody who doesn't have a working car. Remember when I had relocated, like I didn't have my cars. So I'm like, okay, thankfully I have money for Uber. Like that, I was Ubering my sons to school. You know what I mean? So it's like just being grateful for the whatever it is in our life that allows us to keep going and being like finding the joy and the peace in the moments. Now, I didn't have human design back then, right?
Mhm.
So if I
Mhm.
had this, I can only imagine as a tool back then that I also would have held this up to God, source, universe, whatever you
Like,
say. Yes, like, hey, look, this, you say that this is a path to fulfillment and satisfaction and, flow and ease in my life. Like, show me what this looks like in a day to day.
mm,
Because it's a free chart, guys or ladies, it's a free chart, but it's like the embodiment of your human design is where the real power comes into play. So for
mhm.
me, it would have been the same. I would have had it right next to the scriptures. Like, listen, show me, show me how to show up in this human design in my most authentic self every day. And there are different centers within human design, right? So I have, and you have, what's called an undefined head center. So our head center is all about inspiration and ideas and can also be a place for imposter syndrome, inner critic, and all that, right? To come in. So when I was having those moments back then, or even today, okay, because those things don't stop, they just handle them differently. I would have been able to kind of say, okay, this is a part of my undefined head center going on.
Mhm.
Right. And instead of just like, well, why? Yes, I want to know why I'm feeling like this and shift it. But I also can just in that moment say, okay, this is a part of my human design, and kind of allowing that energy to flow and shift, and use it as the tool that it is. Because human design can really, really be something for you to hold on to say, okay, these are my strengths. These are my
Mhm.
gifts. This is how I fulfill my purpose. So at least I can look forward to that.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that because you bring me back to like there has to be a shift in your energy and wherever you can get that guidance from. And I leaned into, I'm like, I did the same thing. I did not open the Bible, which I'm like, oh my gosh, if I would have highlighted that, they would have given me black and white context. It probably would have been more, it would have been stronger for me. But there's always that level playing field where you're like, the line in the sand has been drawn and I'm not going backwards anymore. Like we're creating this in real time and I'm going to fall down and maybe it's going to be a journey, a rocky journey, but we're going to go forward. And I would love guidance to show me the best way out, right? The best way in, the best way forward, the best way to create a more positive impact. And I think as moms, it's like, it adds another layer of guilt and maybe some more worry, right? And I love that you leaned in and you highlighted and you're like, listen, I need proof. Like, you're like, give me some sort of validation that I am in the right direction, because this feels strong. and I get to get guidance, and we're here to really build bridges. And so, yeah, you didn't have human design back then, but you found something. You found a tool that was working for you to change your brain, right? Our brain's biggest thing that's going to do is it keeps us safe from the lions and tigers. And sometimes the lion and tigers are holding us back as well. Like those lies or those gremlins, I feel like they just really hold us back. And so we're here to build a bridge. And so, yeah, your human, how does somebody go and find their human design on, like, because I've done it a year ago, if not longer, maybe 2 years ago. And I've had that chart on my computer and I didn't know how to read it. So how does somebody go online and get their human design chart?
Yeah, so you can literally just Google free human design chart.
Okay.
If they go to my website, I have a link under human design for a free chart, but it is free. I mean, I don't think anybody's out there charging, but it is a free chart. And you only need your birth name, your birth date, your birth time, and your birth city and state or parish, you know, wherever you were born. You can still pull your chart though. If you don't have your birth time, I would just reach out to a reader and they, you know, there's ways for us to pull your chart without the exact time. But the more information you have, the more accurate your chart is. And, you know, from there, I'd say number one is, get a reading. Like there's pieces of it that are you're able to find information online, but if you're able to, I would say get a reading, because I feel like even if, you know, people have had a reading before, if you haven't had one with me, it's like, it's different, because I like to put it in real world terms. Like, okay, I'm a generator. What does that mean for me today? How does
Yeah.
that help me make money? How does that help me with success? How does that help me be in balance and fulfillment? Like, okay, I have gate 56. What does that mean?
Yeah,
What that mean,
exactly.
right? So I would say, you know, make sure that you at least find out your type, your strategy, your authority. And even if you just have those 3 pieces of information, you are ahead of so much of the rest of the world. But I also want us moms to not have guilt, because I have, like, what happens is I'll do a reading and then a client is like, oh my God, this is great. And then they're like, oh my God, how much time of my life did I waste being out of alignment? Oh my, you know what? And it's like, so it's not meant to do that. It's meant to say, okay, so from this point forward, I have this information that most of the world doesn't even know about. And I feel like as moms, it's so powerful too, because if you pull your children's charts, like I know my sons one's a reflector, which is only 1% of the world, and one's a mental projector. And the mental projector needs downtime by himself every single day. So as a mom, I can parent in a better way as well, to not say, oh, you're being standoffish. It's like, oh no, I'm telling him, hey, you need some downtime, right? So that's how he can refill his cup. As projectors out here, you know, for those of you ladies who are projectors, when you pull your chart, you're here to work 2 to 4 hours a day. So think about how you are able to really show the world and show your children a new way to work and be fulfilled and you know, be successful versus what we've been taught to do, you know, 8, 10, 12-hour days. But it's like just having that tool to feel worthy. You talked about feeling worthy earlier. It's like, I feel like confidence will get you the money, but you have to feel worthy to maintain it, or you'll have those feast and famine cycles. You'll have those
Yeah.
cycles. The more money you make, the more money you spend. And really what I love about human design is it allows us to get to like a healing within our nervous system that I was missing back then. I did the affirmations, I did EFT, I did all of the things, and I would have some success, and then I would have, like, I was the queen of feast and famine. So it's like when I realized, like, I don't care what affirmations I tell myself, if I don't feel safe with money, I'm going to find ways to repel and block it, and I may not even be aware of this. So when I was able to heal that money trauma from my lineage, from my mother, my grandmother, and women before them, then I was really able to have like consistent elevation. Because when we heal like with the epigenetics, we heal 7 generations forward, right? So our kids don't have to in generations, but we also heal 7 generations back for those who couldn't. And so what is more important than healing, especially our money stories, right? Like that's such a deep healing. And for me, I came from this lineage of single mothers, struggling single mothers. Now later in life, when they got remarried, things were great, but I realized that I brought that into my money trauma, because the one thing I didn't want was to be single. And it's like, okay, so now I'm single, so I guess that means as a single mother, I'm struggling, right? So I brought that into my story, and I realized now that I didn't have to, but I didn't know. So it's like human design allows for us to bypass a lot of that trauma from our lineage that isn't even ours, that we're carrying.
It's that generational cycle, that victim story that we do not have to put in our book. I don't feel like we don't have to. We can create a different page and a different way of showing up, right? And I love that. I love this so much. What I just feel, and just got a conversation in my head was, is this would be really awesome for any of my clients, like when I do GEM, because we heal so many different generations. We can go back a little up. I have gone back further for myself and for different clients in the lineage to move forward and to heal that money story. And I mean, I work on that. I just did something for entrepreneurs. Actually, it showed up for me in my GEM, and it was just like all women in my family. It was just so interesting. And what I learned from that session. So I just feel like clearing this and then creating this possibility of what are your strengths? How do you run? How do you work? What are you meant to do? Because I feel like it's a rebirth, right? It's just like the phoenix. You can stay in the ashes or you can rise above it. And I feel like if we can let go and release this money, worthiness, guilt, shame cycle, let it go, let those emotions that hold us back in our lineage go, then adding in this piece of human design that you are such an expert in to rebuild that foundation again of a different money story. Like, I just feel like you're taking out the interference. Well, there's no more interference there. And then you can just freaking create and create and create, right? I love this. And then show, and I just feel like your castle will be even bigger when you can get out of your own way.
Yes,
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I love those analogies, and it's very true. It's like when we can, because even if I have a moment of let's say imposter syndrome, right? I can go back to, but what is my inner sense? Because my strategy is to respond. And we talked about earlier, when I'm in alignment, it's satisfaction. Out of alignment is frustration. So if I have a sense of satisfaction about something or the thought of doing something, but my mind is trying to come in and say, oh, that's scary, or, are you, ready for that? And then I'm like, okay, so I can make the distinction between ego and intuition, right? The soul guidance and my ego. And so it's like, even that in that moment can be powerful. Now, I may still choose to feed a little bit into the fear, right? But it's like the awareness that I am doing that. And it's like, oh, so then it's only so long before I'm like, nope, forget that. We got to move forward in the fear, but it's still the awareness, and awareness is half the battle.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And I think we're in a different way. It's a different age. It's a new paradigm, right? We're like learning all of the things and being more emotional and being less resistant to finding new additional ways of creating or doing business or eating. I mean, there's just so many different things. Like, we don't have to go to the gym for 7 hours a week. We could like dance with our kids and get a sweat on, right? Like, we're just getting more creative on ways to heal and change our story. And I love that. I love the holistic approach to creating possibilities and freedom, right? We're here to create freedom. We're here to create love and possibilities. And I think the first person that you need to love and be open to is the human you see in the mirror, right? You get to love yourself. And I think that's the start of a different conditioning, right? And I actually, Tara, I love the thought process, because I'm just looking at my dream board. I have a dream board right over here, and it's I am statements. And a lot of times I too am like, I am not that yet. And so I always say up until now or not yet, but I'm like, I am in the process of, feels so much easier for me. I'm like, I can resonate, because you have to have, your brain has to think it's true. Like your brain, if you cannot wrap around something like I am driving a Genesis, whatever that car that you want to do, or I am buying this house across the street because I see it every single day when I walk to work, whatever it is. I am in the process of having the abundance to buy this house. I am in the process of having the abundance to buy this vehicle. I am in the process of driving this vehicle, right? Whatever it is, I'm in the process of rebuilding my finances, right? And having this different story. And so that feels so much better and easier for me. Does it need to be easy? I feel like it does need to be easy.
It gets to be easy. Now, look, it's like I have that on a sticky in my room. I look at it every day when I wake up. Like, how easy will I let life be today? Like, it gets to be easy. I had so much attachment to struggle and hustle and all of those things. And I'm like, no, I get to, because I know when I'm tapped in, those are what we call the coincidences. Like, oh, this person called, or this support came, or this money came, and look how that just happened. It's like, no, you were tapped in. There were many moving parts, but you were tapped in that moment or over the course of certain moments. That's why that felt so easy. But what if your whole existence can be that easy? With love, with money, and manifesting. You talked about love, like it's called a magnetic monopole in human design. That is like the main thing you use to attract all that you desire. And mine is gate 10, which is the gate of self-love. So I'm aware that when I'm in any type of inner critic or self-loathing, I'm repelling what I desire. When I'm in that self-love, for me specifically, and we all know that love is powerful, but like for me specifically, when I can get into deep self-love, that's when I see a lot of what I'm desiring show up very easily. So it's like, how easy will we let life be? And I know there's so much out there, especially, with us as moms and with our children and the economy and inflation and all these things. I do also, there's always duality, because the lower the pendulum falls, the higher it swings, right? The higher it comes up. Okay. So the thing about it too is understanding the duality in these lower economic downturns. There were more millionaires created during the Depression than at any other point in American history, up until the recession of 2007, when even more millionaires were created. So not to say that we enjoy these economic downturns, but my point is that, you can still find pockets of abundance and fulfillment and alignment and joy and pleasure. I'm like, how can we live an orgasmic life? Right. And yes, there are people suffering and famine and all those things, but I also feel like money in the hands of good women like us changes the world. And then we can have the money to help certain causes that really resonate with us, right? Instead of just feeling bad about what is going on in the world. So yeah, it's just like having that knowing that regardless of what is going on, you can create your own abundance within, without those, outward external influences that will impact, but like, how can we rise above that in a way?
I love that. Thank you for mentioning that, because that is so true. I mean, I had a strong conversation with my 20-year-old. She'll be 20 in this next month. That is crazy. I have a 20-year-old on Monday.
Well, you look in your 20s, so yeah.
Oh, thank you very much. And we had this conversation about the world as it is right now, and it's just so hard, and the inflation, and the Great Depression. And I was like, what was created from the Great Depression? Like, did we have survivors? Did we have people that thrived? Did they learn a different trade, a different way of being? And just like, there is always something to learn. And I feel like when things get really hard, we get really strong.
Yeah.
When things that life is just like, there's abundance everywhere, we get like kind of just relaxed and maybe comfortable. I don't know what. So when we're uncomfortable, I feel like that's when we lean in and we're like creative and we learn something and we shift. And I feel like it is a time to shift. And so I know it's not easy to shift. I know it's not easy to start over. I was like, how am I going to pay my mortgage when I decided to leave a marriage that was not a great marriage for 10 years, right? Narcissistic abuse is no joke. And then I also learned a second relationship, and it was even worse, right? And so I got to dive into, okay, what is not working for me here, right? What is the difference between creating and staying in this victim mentality and not being in joy and flow, right? And suffering. Let's just put it that way, right? Suffering and being so much guilt, being in just this shame and guilt cycle. And I was like, what gets to change? And the first thing was, what can I shift to? What can I personally do to help myself? Because I didn't really have humans around me. There wasn't a community of people like diving into to help Shannon. And not that I told anybody, because that was my own fault, right? Lone wolfing it is how I used to do life. And so the first thing I did was shift into what can I do, and shifting into loving who I saw in the mirror. And so whatever you get to shift into, whether it is what I hear us saying today is we get to create what we need, right? What is missing from the room? What is missing from how we want our life to be? Find it, right? Look in deeper. If you don't feel like the intuition, lean on spirituality, lean on somebody that has already been there, that's out, and figure out what your strengths are. What are your core beliefs? What are your values? What creates ease and joy in your life? And do more of that. Don't go with a disease, because that's going to cause disease and famine and more money story issues, I feel like, right? Do you resonate with that? Like, I just feel like it is feast and famine. I've done the desert is overflowing with the abundance of water, and then it dries up again. And I'm like, well, we're here again. Like, this doesn't feel good. I really like flowers and forests and trees and growth, right? But with every single time that comes around, there is always growth. And so we're going to fall, we're going to fail, and fail faster, because I just feel like I have learned so much from everything that has not worked for me. It's got me to today. It's got me to meeting you. It's gotten to me to lean into my strengths as I know it. And I know we started out with, Dean Graziosi just spoke to it yesterday in a sentence. And it was like, we're always told to work harder on what we suck at, basically, right? And that never felt good to me. And it's frustrating, because then something else falls to the wayside. So I feel like just lean into what brings you joy and forget what the programming you were told, or what mom said, or money doesn't grow on trees, or whatever, right? Be grateful for everything you have, no matter if it's $2 in your bank account, or you have a way to pay for Uber, even if you don't have a car. Like, the more gratitude you have, the more abundance of energy you will have to go through your day, no matter what your day is, I feel like. But I love the fact that you gave us this amazing tool. And I have had a reading. My time of day was off. So I get to get in alignment with another session, but it makes complete sense when you have a reading. And so like I said, it looks like science and math had a baby. And I'm like, I don't even understand all this red and black and yellow and openness and whatever. It kind of looks like a structure of a body. I don't know what it means. And so listening to it and diving into like even the 3 things that you can get online, right? What I'm supposed to do, how I'm supposed to do it, and what triggers me into pulling back makes sense. And it allows me to know what I should work on harder. Because if I lean into the strengths and my core values, I can't go wrong. It might not be perfect every time. It's still going to be a mountain to climb, right? But that's just my journey to go on. And it has just created such a different way of feeling about who I am, right? Instead of being this quirky human that's like woo and likes to talk a lot, it now makes sense that I'm supposed to be a teacher and I'm supposed to lean in, I'm supposed to speak out, and I'm here to speak out and speak up and create possibilities and to break the cycles of shame and guilt. And we're as mothers, we don't want our kids to do the same thing. We want our kids to work hard, not be like spoiled little brats or anything. That's not what I'm saying at all, but we want them not to live in the guilt and shame. We want them to enjoy and be in peace and create and have possibilities and choices, right? And I think that's what freedom is to me, is I have choices. And I would love, and I love the fact that we can create freedom every single day. And it's a mindset. It starts with mindset, I think, and a belief.
And a choice. It literally is that choice. Like, how am I choosing to show up? For me, every time I step outside, I'm like, okay, I'm stepping into an abundant timeline. Like, I am stepping into my most abundant self, and all this embodiment that, work that I have worked really hard on creating in my life to embody where I'm going. So embracing and being grateful for where I am, but embodying the future, because, the thing about it is, like, I had a hard time giving myself credit. So even after, like, for me rebuilding, I rebuilt to a little over 6 figures in a year. Right. And it still wasn't good enough because it wasn't 7 figures again. Right. And so it's like, now I get to truly be in a state of gratitude in every moment, while also saying, okay, but I'm in the process of, and embodying for the next day. And it's like we get to create our own heaven on earth, our own prosperity, our own abundance. Yeah.
I love that. Live an orgasmic life. I love that. That resonates. I'm like, yes, and ask for that. And I hear you saying, like, celebrate everything. Like, celebrate. If you didn't talk crap to yourself today, that is a huge win. If you talk crap and was like, no, sister, we don't talk like that. I mean, everything that you do to create change is amazing. If you didn't get frustrated with your kids today and it was like all an amazing adventure, that's a celebration. There's so many things that I forgot to celebrate, and that in this last 6 months, I really leaned into celebrating everything, even if it's little, like, we get to celebrate, because then that gives yourself context that you created something special, and you're in alignment with that freedom and joy. And I love that. Oh my gosh. So I know we could talk forever. And this is an amazing conversation, because money is magic, or it gives us like stress. And we're just going to keep it as magic. And so how can we continue making money magic stories in our head with you? I hear you have something coming up, but how can we get a reading? How can we connect with you?
Yes, so I do. I'm so excited. I have a new container coming out. It's called Creatrix. And it comes right back to this. We get to create our orgasmic lives and how that looks for us. And it's based on 3 pillars that come down to our source, our self, and our money. And it has all these like juicy elements to it, including human design and money Reiki, and like all of these things that I'm so excited to put together. I've never seen put together in this way. And the ultimate goal is for us to fully embody and be living an orgasmic life on our terms. Right. So whether that's, as moms, as women, as entrepreneurs, whatever that looks like. And so that is going to be launching soon. I'm doing activation calls right now. And so, you can feel free to reach out. I can be found at thebravewaytribe.com. That's my website. On Instagram at The Brave Way, on LinkedIn at Tierra Womack, and or shoot me an email. Yeah. So hi at thebravewaytribe.com. All the ways, all the ways.
Oh my gosh. And it'll be, if you're not watching this in the group, then it'll be in the community, in the resources, and all of the ways of getting a hold of you will be in there. And I'm so excited. And again, if I need to get that reread. I love the fact that the connection also, if because something just came from me, we're moms here. A lot of us are moms. And so like my kids are 20 and 21, almost 20 and 21. And actually have oh my gosh, my middle child's 21 today. So I have so much to work on communication with adult children, right? And so if you have adult children and you're like, okay, like we're just not connecting like we used to, or I want to connect or build this relationship more because my kids don't have to come home anymore, right? Like it's a different way. I think that getting your kids as human design out there, like print their chart and understand how they communicate or where they come from or what resonates best with them can only enhance your relationship with your kids. Like I have done this, I have gotten their charts, and I cannot wait to like do the triad conversation of, so I just feel like it's like a therapy session of communication, and a different way of openness and understanding. And I feel like when you come in compassion, understanding, it's a win-win. I love it. Just an idea. Just wanted to throw that out there because we did bring that up just briefly about your kids. And I think it's an absolute beautiful idea. Absolutely beautiful idea. Oh my gosh, Sarah, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with my community. This has just been profound, and from just rebuilding a foundation and changing that wealth story, changing that money story, but it's really wealth, and wealth is your health. And so I just love it so much. And I love you. You are amazing. You're amazing.
Thank you. I just love me some you, and I appreciate, I mean, this conversation was so juicy today. It really filled up my cup as well. So thank you. Just thank you.
Oh my gosh. Until next time.